All right, let's dive into something pretty radical today. We're talking about a system for personal transformation, but forget just, following some pre-written script someone else handed you. This is about learning the actual architectural principles to design your own life, literally from the ground up.
You know that feeling, right? Where you have a reaction and you just think, wow, that felt outdated. It's like a script that was written when you were 14 is still running the show now that you're 35. That's the legacy software kicking in. What we're talking about here is installing a brand new operating system.
So, the very first and most fundamental shift is all about your perspective. It's this move from being a passive participant in your own life, basically an actor just reading lines, to becoming the active creator. You're not just in the play, you're the architect of the whole production. And this quote really is the core invitation of this whole idea. See, meaning isn't some treasure you go out and find. It's a structure. It's something you design and you build yourself, and you use your own experiences and values as the raw materials. The power and, yeah, the responsibility, it all belongs to you. So what does this actually look like, this shift? Think about it. Are you the actor on the stage just hitting your marks, saying lines that somebody else wrote for you? Or are you the architect? The one with the power to see the entire production, to redesign the set, and even rewrite the script as it's all unfolding. This slide really frames the two basic ways we can operate. The old way, what the system calls a responsive variable, or R1V. That's our default setting, right? The world is the constant, it's the one, and we just react to whatever it throws at us. But the new way, the autonomous variable, AV1, it completely flips the script. You become the one. You start acting from your own center, not just from whatever external pressure is being applied. Okay, so if we're going to be architects, we need a blueprint, right? Well, this system has an incredible tool for making that invisible structure of our lives totally visible. It's called the root square. Let's take a look at how this thing is actually built. And there it is. This is the root square chart. Now, the first thing to notice is that this is not a linear to-do list. Not at all. It's a spatial map. It shows you how a new version of yourself actually assembles itself from its tiniest components. It helps you see the real architecture that's required to make change happen. Now here's the crucial part, and it's totally the reverse of how we normally think. You don't start by defining the root, the new you. That's just empty potential. Instead, you start way out on the edge with the fruits. These are the smallest, most concrete, actionable things you do every day. Those little actions then synthesize into leaves, which are functional states. And those leaves integrate into branches, your core capabilities. And it's only when those branches are strong that the root, the new you, spontaneously emerges. Okay, this is where the architecture gets really, really fascinating. There's a core mathematical principle at play here, the 75-25 rule, and it explains why just listing your goals or your practices, well, why it's just not enough to create real change. So I want you to imagine a branch, let's call it professional competence, and let's say it's built from 3 core leaves. According to the math of this system, each of those leaves accounts for 25% of that branch. So 3 times 25, that's 75%. So where's the rest? What accounts for that other 25%? And here's the brilliant answer. That missing 25% isn't another item on your list. It's the overlap. It's the space where those 3 leaves are actually used together. It's the integration, the activation, it's the how they combine to actually operate in the real world. It's not a thing, it's an action. Think of it like this. It's a perfect analogy. You can have a plug, you can have an outlet, and you can have all the knowledge of how they work. That's your 75% right there. But nothing happens, does it? The final 25% is the willful act of connection. It's the moment you choose to actually plug the device in, and that's what makes the electricity flow. Without that active integration, all the parts are just a diagram, not a living, working capacity. So how do we actually do this in our daily lives? Well, we use a tool called Metamatics, which is kind of like an algebra for transformation. And its most critical piece is understanding your agency, or what the system calls the position of one. And to get this, let's look at a pretty common disaster. You decide you're going to build an IKEA bookshelf. You declare yourself a master of particle board, ready to force this shelf into existence. But oops, you're missing a dowel, the instructions are just a bunch of confusing cartoons, and pretty soon you're just staring at this leaning wreck of regret. See, this is all about understanding your position in the equation. When you're in iterator mode, or X/1, you are the agent acting on the world. That's you trying to force that shelf into existence. But in delineator mode, or 1/x, you're yielding. The world, or x, is the context that is shaping you. It's the same variables, but it's a completely different sense of agency. So that IKEA disaster, that happened because you were forcing an iterator mode. You were saying shelf/1 while completely ignoring the reality of the missing parts. The system stalled. And what about that traffic jam meltdown? You tried to yield with the delineator mode, 1/traffic, but the second that BMW cut you off, your whole framework broke, and you let that BMW become the one that dictated your entire reality. So, after all this architectural work, what's the payoff? Why do all this? Well, it's a profound shift in how you experience reality itself, right down to the most tiny, granular level of time. The ultimate goal here is a state called saturated synergization. And I know it sounds like a mouthful, but think of it like being in flow but on steroids. It's when you are completely present in an experience, while at the exact same time you are fully aware of that experience as it's happening. You're both the player and the observer, not one then the other, but at the same time. And here's why this is so unbelievably powerful. When you manage to achieve this state, the impact on your growth isn't just additive. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. It is multiplicative. We're talking about a 10x multiplier. A single moment of this kind of dual awareness can create more real transformation than years of just sleepwalking through a routine. And this all leads to a really profound realization. We think we build our lives in these big, grand gestures over months and years. But the truth is, the entire construction happens at the atomic level of the present moment. Your life is built decision by decision in the tiny space of a quarter second. So, the ultimate question this whole architecture leaves us with is this one. The next moment is arriving right now. It's a blank slate. You're the architect, and you have the blueprint. So what will you choose to build?